Well, let's go ahead and get this started. I mean,
Okay.
you recently put out. I want to talk about your book first because you recently put
Oh,
out a
okay.
book. Yeah, this
Yeah.
was when did the book drop? It dropped October of 2019.
I've lost track, but I think it's around October or November. I don't
Okay.
know exactly when.
Well, the book is called The Loopholes Dossier, a
Yeah.
satire.
Yeah.
I've been uh, kind of reading reviews and stuff a lot lately on your book, obviously to get prepared for this interview. But one of the things that just blows me away is the idea of the book. How did you get this idea, and can you explain to people where the idea for the book came from?
Okay, but I've never read anything about the book. There is stuff out about this reviews of the book.
Well, you can go to Amazon and actually see people that have reviewed the book. There's a couple
Oh,
of
really?
reviews. Yeah. But they
Uh,
have on Amazon, they have editorial reviews. There's all kinds of stuff. So
oh, all right. I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Well, the idea for the book was I wanted to write a book. That was the idea for the book. I wanted to write a book, and because I have a lot of writing that I just put in drawers and stuff. So I had basically I had 1/3 of it already written that I had just had in a drawer, and that was the seven fables of Sometimes Jones. So the first third of the book is 7 satirical fables about this character, Sometimes Jones. The first, and they're all stages of his life. So the first fable is about a runaway boy named Sometimes Jones who runs away from his father, didn't get along with his father. He runs away at 15 to San Francisco. And it turns out that at 15, he was what's it when you're just born with somebody with something that you know, like how many there's a movie made about it with
autism.
What? Well, not autism, but when you can just know if a box of toothpicks spills on the floor,
Yeah. I know you're talking about, like Rain Man.
Yeah, Rain Man. Well, that's well, what is that called? What the disease that Rain Man had?
I'm like, spacing on it.
It starts with an S.
Yeah.
Anyway, he has that. This 15-year-old runaway boy named Sometimes Jones, it turns out he has that for pickpocketing, for being a pickpocket. He's a born pickpocket.
Yeah.
He's a genius pickpocket at 15. So he runs away to San Francisco, and his life changes because of that. He becomes the best pickpocket on Market Street, which is a big street.
Yeah.
It's like Broadway. And he wheedles his way into a gang because one of the things that he picks the pocket of, and this is the name of the fable. It's called Sometimes Jones and the Magic Credit Card. He picks well, there's a way that he does it, which is explained in the story. He actually picks the pocket of the president of the United States, and in the wallet of the presidency, in the wallet is a magic credit card that's good for one life.
Ooh,
so that ultimate power. Yeah, ultimate power has 2 lives. So the president gets this get out of jail free card. He gets another life. So he has it now, and he uses that. This 15-year-old kid uses that. And he's so good pickpocket, and he's so crazy because he has this one life that he thinks, that he uses it in very different ways. Some of them are very clever, and some of them are very not so clever and bad. And there's ramifications,
Oh, yeah.
With celebration comes responsibility. And so that's what the fairy tale is about. And then what he's doing with this card and what it's doing to him, and how it. Okay. And then the second and third and fourth and fifth is, so the second one is about when he's about 18 or 19. And then it's about when 20 and 25, and then 35, and then 45. And then finally at about 45 or 55, I think, is the last one. And then you see he runs away again, but this time to Tibet. And he becomes and he climbs this high mountain, and he gets into a Tibetan monastery. He figures, well, the solution is he becomes a monk, and his epiphanies are quite quite amazing. What he does with it, because he's not an ordinary thinker, so he uses all these epiphanies to his own end.
I gotta ask real quick, where did the ideas for these stories come from? Are these based in reality? Maybe
total reality.
No, I mean, like, you know, coming up and growing up, and are these stories close to home?
Oh, all of them is based on something that happened to me, or some thought that I had. The first one is that, man, in my mind, I ran away as a young child when I was 15. I didn't do it until I was 18. I mean, until it was, I went away to college, and then after that, I just kept going. But, you know, I went away to school. But in my mind, 16, 17, and 18, I was running away and then I also have weird talents, you know, like I balancing talent, or a juggling talent, or just nothing that you could plug in and make money at. Just this weird, hey, you can do that, or I'm a funny guy, or blah blah. So that was what his miraculous talent was. This pickpocketing talent. So, and then each one, then like in one of them, when he's around 35, he falls in love when he was 18. So there's one where he falls in love. Then there's one where he gets trapped in quicksand, and how
I love that.
And then so each one, and then he gets married, and one time I almost got married, and then what happens when it doesn't work out, when that marriage doesn't work out. So yeah, each fable of the 7 fables is based on some point, some little thing that happened to me.
Yeah. And
I just expanded. Look, my favorite guy in the whole universe is Aesop. So that's where I'm coming from. I mean, that's all I read when I was a kid is Aesop and Grimm's and Mother Goose and just everything, you know, all these stories, you know, just stories.
I love a lot of those. I love a lot of those early fairy tales, because what a lot of people don't realize is that some of them are the original, you know, German fairy tales are very dark, and you know, Hansel and Gretel, you know.
Yes, the Grimm's boys, man. Oh, yeah, I'm sure in the original they were terrifying. I'm sure. Yeah, because that's how they taught in those days.
Yes,
scare people into knowledge. You know,
yeah, they would pass it down through oral tradition, and you would get these fairy tales through oral.
Yeah, and how are you going to remember stuff unless you're scared? You know, silly. So and you remember, oh wow, you know, stay away from snakes, because you know they would tell you stories about monster snakes. So, right. And then so that's the first third, and then and I did study Zen Buddhism for a while, so that's when it goes to Tibet. But I just use it to my own ends.
Well, you know? I really wanted to start with the book because, you know, I've heard that you refer to your upbringing as a very anti-education kind of.
Performing something and dressing in costumes. As far back as I can remember, I would entertain my mom with stories. Even as a little kid, you know, even if it came out from play, the first thing I would do is I would tell the whole thing. You know, we were playing basketball or we were playing tag and and then I would have adventures when I would narrative adventures where I would narrate my adventures, which sometimes turned awful. Well, one day we were playing scientists. Luckily, I was very young. Maybe 9 or 8, if that, but around that, you know. We were playing scientists down in the cellar. We lived in an apartment building, just 2 or 3 stories, that was all. But they had a furnace down there. So a coal burning furnace.
Oh, yeah.
So you can go down to the furnace was just a cellar, and there was the furnace over in the corner, and you could open the door, and shovel coal in, just like. So we were playing scientists, and there was a lot of paint cans and kerosene and wood and coal.
Yeah.
And we were experimenting certain things and throwing them into the furnace, opening the door and throwing them in. So, first you take a piece of coal and you throw it in. Oh, well, that doesn't do anything. It just starts to glow after a while. That's nothing. Then we took a little paint on a stick. Take a little paint on a stick and you throw it. Oh, that burns. That's pretty good. That burns good. And then I found the master scientist, found a can of kerosene. So here's my. So I thought scientists mix stuff. So I should mix this. So I got a glass to mix things in. Poured a glass full of kerosene into it, and then I took a lump of coal. This is the mixture. A lump of coal and kerosene, and throw that in the fire. And the fucking thing blew up. I mean, it shot out like like in a science fiction thing.
Yeah.
I threw this whole glass in it, and I was standing there, and it enveloped my head. I just saw white. And then there was silence. There was 5 of us, and there was silence. And I turned around because wow. And then I turned around, and the kids even went silenter. And then they didn't know what to say. Well, I had burned my face off, is basically what I had done. Wow. And I say I was lucky because I was, and luckily I was young enough so that it all grew back. The doctor said if I had been 2 years older, scarred for life.
Wow.
Eyebrows, everything. So I didn't know that at the time. So I walked outside. They all wanted to go home or something, or go home. They kept saying, go home. You got to go home, man. You got to go home. I didn't feel anything. I mean, my eyes were okay. I could see. I didn't feel anything. So I went upstairs. I figured to go home. I lived only 3 doors away or something like that. It was one of these long apartment buildings where you just had steps and steps and steps. So I went down there. And as I'm walking, maybe, I don't know, 20, 50 feet to my house, to my steps, and there's this woman with packages, shopping packages, walking towards me. And as soon as she saw me, she screamed and dropped her packages, ran into the middle of the street and flagged down the first car. And she grabbed me and she threw, and the guy says, what's going on? She opened the door and she threw me in. She says, get this kid to a hospital now. And he looked and he goes, holy, and they zoomed off, ran to the hospital, and they immediately took me into the ward, plastering my face with all kinds of shit and wrapping me with. So I was like a mummy from here up. Boom. And then they had two little things in my eyes and just a little hole for a straw so that I could suck water. They called my mother, and I just kept on saying to the doctor, I'm a mummy from here up. And I'm coming here. Don't tell my father, okay? Don't tell my father. Don't tell him. So, okay, we'll call your mother. We'll call your mother. So she came and she screamed, oh my God. And I said, don't tell Dad. Don't tell Dad. That's all I said for I think a half hour. Don't tell Dad. No, okay, I won't tell him. Yeah. And then when he came home, she took me home and I was just sitting there. Now, I didn't feel a thing, so I didn't know what was going on. And and they wouldn't let me look in the mirror.
Smart.
So I didn't know what it looked like. So now I can say I look like a mummy. And then, from here on up. And then I went to school. I mean, I could go to school. I just would have to get redressed every day or every other day, or I don't know. But when I went to school, I was a big hero. That was amazing, man. I was like a rock star. I mean,
Yeah, of course. I mean,
walking a mummy and just hey and all. Everybody's talking to me, and so maybe that's where I got the shot of show business. Wait a minute, I don't know if I could turn my face a lot, but I could do something to get this attention.
Well, if you're right, like when kids break their arm or something in school, they want to get to school to show everybody their cast, and everybody wants to sign
it. Yeah, right. Yeah.
So you had the ultimate, man. Like there's arms, there's legs, but man, when you fuck with your head, you got the ultimate.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I was explaining the answer to a question now. I just forgot.
Basically, when did you first realize you wanted to be an actor? I mean, when did you?
Okay. So that I got off on that. When I got to school, not my. I tell you, I didn't, like I said, they wouldn't let me look at my face, and I just looked in the mirror and I saw a mummy, and that was like far out, holy wow, But I still was afraid of my father. He hadn't come home yet, so he was still at work. My mother called him and said, hey, when you come home, don't get crazy. He burned his face, don't. But she said, well, Dad's coming home now, so just don't worry. Don't worry. She said, but when he came home and my father, he lost it. He was, I'd never seen him like that. He was just so shocked and, like a father would be.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And when my father didn't punish me or yell at me, that told me, I've done something really bad to myself. That's what woke me up to, holy shit, dude. It was so, and my mother was, no, it's be okay. Okay. So yeah, that changed my mind about what I had done. But okay, so really got me into show business. After that, I was always doing pops and dressing in costumes. I would sleep in costume. If I had for a birthday present, when I got a kind of an army uniform, because my uncles were all in the army and stuff. So I got like a soldier's thing. I don't know, but I slept in it. I wouldn't take it off.
Yeah, every young boy has that same thing.
I guess for any costume I would just put a. And there was always playing that. So finally, but then that was knocked out of me, and that's where you get these no education, no curiosity, no reading. So I got into. Now, luckily for me, my parents. I've never discussed my youth, so this is interesting to me. I never. My parents were anti-education. I mean, they let me go to school and stuff, but anti-curiosity. In other words, just learn what you have to learn. But so the only books they had were collections of stuff that you buy with the bookshelf. So it's the entire Encyclopedia Britannica.
Yeah.
The entire famous books.
Yep.
Cervantes and
Shakespeare. Yeah.
And that was the only books in the house, plus comic books and my fairy tales.
Hey, I'm good with comic books.
So I would go through the comic books and I would go through the fairy tales. And so when I got bored, because I loved to read, remember there was no television. I mean, it was black and white, but except for Milton Berle, I think I don't remember anything. But it was black and white, and I was still reading. So I started to read all the classics. I was reading Shakespeare, at like 15 and 14. I mean, I didn't know what I was reading. I was reading, Dostoevsky, Anna Karenina. And I didn't realize what I was reading. I mean, I would read like, 20 pages. And then if I didn't understand what was going on, then I would go to the next book. Yeah. So I was reading hunks of this stuff and getting and I didn't realize what I was doing until one day, I think I was like, what's the first grade you have to write an essay on?
Geez,
write an essay on a book, but you're pretty young, right?
Yeah.
It's public school, it's young. So the first time I had to write an essay, there's a read a book and write an essay on it. Okay, and then she said, now tomorrow, what I want you to do is I want you to come in and tell me what book you're going to read. And then I'll give you a week and you read it. And then you come back and you give an essay. She told the whole class. So then, Larry, what are you going to read? Anya Karenina. Really? Yeah. I mean, I didn't know what it was. I was just Anya Karenina. That's great, Larry. I mean, and she was just really effusive about it. That's really great, Larry. Go ahead. So now I thought, well, okay, so I'll read it. I mean, I just read the title.
Yeah.
So I started to read it, and I read about, again, 20 pages. I think that's my limit now, even as an adult.
I'm with you.
It's 20 pages. If it doesn't catch me, man, I'm on to the next great classic. So I read about 20 pages, and I read a report on that. And then I read the last couple of pages, like about 3 or 4 pages.
Yeah, like most art.
Yeah, it starts out this way, and this is how it ends up. And I got like a B+ or something. I don't know.
What was well, you came to prominence as a member of a sketch troupe called The Committee, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
And which is a noted 60s comedy troupe. What can you tell us about your time within The Committee and what that was like during that time?
Okay, well, how I got to The Committee is how I got into show business, which is really going to answer the last question you asked. But after that, after I left public school and I got into high school, I stopped reading really, and I got into poetry. And the reason I got into poetry in high school because there was a poetry club that only had girls in it. And I thought, hey, if I get into poetry. Now, I had no idea because I was a very naive kid. I probably still am in a way. But when I was a kid, because I had no education, no curiosity, not even right wing. It wasn't even Republican. It was just reactionary. I mean, that was just it. I was very naive. So I didn't realize what the scuttlebutt about a boy in an all-girls class would be. I mean, all my boy friends would just jeer the hell out of me. Voting. But I thought, well, I get laid, Yeah. Hey, heck. Now that never happened.
But it's always the initial, like.
Yeah. Hey, so the class for girls, man. I gotta get a date or something. I get a girlfriend, something. No, but I stuck with it through the whole term, the whole year, and I really did. And that's the writing and the education that I got was in poetry. We read all the classic poetry. I read all the good stuff from Ogden Nash to Shakespeare. Yeah. Just the whole thing, and Layer's limericks. I mean, we just got into it. So it's really cool. So I was very happy for the wrong reason. I got an education for the wrong reason. I was going in to get laid, and you give me poetry education? What the heck? How did that happen? So, but years later, it paid off really well. So there I got that. And then when I went into college, they wanted me to get an education, go to college. And I was really a good boy also, which is not a good thing. I want to listen to my parents. So I went to college. Nobody that I've ever revered, looked up to, or wanted to mentor me ever went to college.
Yeah.
If they did, they dropped out. all the people that I really look up to nowadays, you look back, no, I dropped out, man. No, I didn't go. I just did what I was starting to do now, So I went to college. So I graduated as an industrial designer. I'm getting to how I got into show business. And then my best friend in college was Carl Gottlieb, who later was to write Jaws. Mm-hmm. We didn't both know that he was going to write Jaws later on, but he was a really smart kid, and we got to be friends, and we stuck up for each other in college and blah, blah, blah. And when we graduated, he said, I'm going to New York to become a writer. Why don't you come with me and we'll be roommates? And I go, great, let's do that. because I don't want to do this industrial design shit, which started out like at a $75,000 or $100,000 a year for what they wanted me to do, which was design cars in Detroit. And I wanted to go to Greenwich Village and starve. That's kind of what happened.
Yeah, I don't blame you on that. There's something to be said about working that hamster wheel job or going out and maybe starving for a couple of days and being happy. There's a big
difference. Now I didn't know exactly that I was going to starve, but it was an adventure that he was offering me, Carl. Let's go to Greenwich Village, you know.
Yep.
Greenwich Village was like a circus to me. To kids, Greenwich Village. And then he was going to be a writer, and he was very focused. So I knew I'm going with somebody who's focused so I can pick up that vibe. Because I really didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to go with Carl to Greenwich Village, you know. So I did. And then what I did was I swabbed the duck boards in a bar from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. After close, they locked me in the bar and I just cleaned up. I never want to see another Peanut show as long as I live. So I cleaned up. I swabbed the deck, you know, behind on the duckboards. And then at 6 o'clock in the morning, so I was in Greenwich Village, 6 o'clock in the morning, the chef, it was like a bar and grill. The chef would come in and unlock the door from the outside and let me out. So I had to wait. I couldn't.
Wow.
I couldn't get out myself. So they locked me in. So I guess for robberies or something, I don't know, to protect me. But what I was doing, because I was only getting a couple of bucks, it was only 4 hours work every night, 5 days a week, 6 days a week. So to feed myself and pay the rent, so I was stealing food from the grill part of the bar.
Okay.
Grill.
Yeah.
So I would go into the, and I always rule, and I got this, I swear to God, I got this from Harpo Marx. I always wore a raincoat. Have you ever watched, Marx Brother movies?
Oh yeah, I'm a big, huge.
And he opens his raincoat, and all spoons and knives and forks fall out. Well, that's what I had in mind. If Harpo can do it, so can I. So I always wore a raincoat, and I filled all it had one inside pocket, had two, outside pockets, and then the raincoat covered me. So when I stood up, I shoved everything into my belt and in my back. And then I zipped it up, or I buttoned it up, and I would walk out and I would wait by the door, right by the door, because I didn't want to talk to him. I didn't want him to see any bulge or anything like that. So I just wait right by the door. When he opened it and he came in, I just, whoa.
Yeah,
I just went out.
Yeah.
I never talked to him. I said, hi, Cal. How you doing? Good night. Boom, and I was off. And then I would unload my pockets, back at the house.
Yeah.
I just remember one thing I did only twice. I was only there for 3 weeks because twice, and the second time I thought too much. They had rashers of bacon. Rashers of bacon are these flat things where you just slice off. Cut, so they were nice and flat, and I would just put it in my back, in my belt, right in my back, nice and flat behind me, right in the back there. And I put a couple of whatever would go in here, but the rashers. So the second time I took a rasher of bacon, boom! I thought I got to make my move out of here. This is
you're gonna catch on.
I think there's empty spots starting to show up. in the cupboard.
Yeah, especially
what happened to the bacon? Yeah. Do we sell a lot of bacon? A lot of BLTs. What's going on?
Yeah.
So I stopped, and that drove me to looking for other work. And I had a lot of time because I just worked 2 to 6. And Carl was always reviewing movies. He was writing, reviewing movies now. So he was getting into it. He was focused, man. He was going to write Jaws, whether anybody liked it or not.
Yeah.
A couple of years.
Yeah.
So I started hanging out at a Monday night open mic nights.
Oh.
So there you go. And I was a funny guy in high school. I won funniest in high school 2 years in a row. So, So I thought I can do that. Not really, because making your high school friends laugh is not like standing on a stage and making strangers who's bought a drink. Yeah. So, but here's the great thing, and that was my introduction to show business. From there, I just stayed that way and became a stand-up comedian. And within 6 months, I had a manager, and I was opening for Woody Allen. So it worked.
Bad. Yeah.
Yeah. So it worked.
There's nothing. I don't think there's anything harder in that I can think of in show business, or not even just in show business, than getting up on a stage and trying out new material in front of people that want to laugh. That it's scary just to think about getting up on stage and then having to constantly work out new material that might not be funny when you feed off of the jokes. I couldn't imagine having to come up with new material all the time and then having to get up on stage and bomb over and over and over to get better.
Bombing. The memories. The silence. The guys coming at me with beer bottles. Get the fuck off the stage. Yeah. Well, we all go through it. But the thing about that, it's not all that way. First of all, I never wrote anything. I was a stand-up comedian. I was opening for Miles Davis, for the Kingston Trio, for Rush, the Lovin' Spoonful, Blues Project. Just major acts, and I was in arena shows. But I never ever wrote anything, ever. I didn't know how to write a joke. I mean, I didn't have enough focus to sit down and go da 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 da.
Yeah.
Never had. So, but what I would do is I would get up and talk about my day. And the interesting thing, and this I learned at open mic night, they were the most important show business teachers I ever had. Open mic Monday nights, even for acting. The audience, I learned that, I would just get up and talk because, I thought it was funny. So there was not that nervousness. It was once I got out there and nobody was laughing. That's when I realized, wait a minute, I'm not funny? Whoa. But here's the thing, 2 ways. First of all, I would just get up and talk about my day. The great thing about open mic Monday night audiences is they're not there because they want to laugh. You go to a leading comedian to do that. Hey, I'm going to go see Woody Allen. I'm going to laugh. I wouldn't laugh. I don't think he's funny, but he is funny. I mean, to other people, he's really funny. Yeah. So what you do is Monday night is you got no place else to go. Let's go in here. It's cheap and see if there's anything that can catch our fancy. In other words, you go in there, it's a risk. It's a very cheap risk. Cup of coffee, that's all. But here's the thing about audiences on open mic night, and they all understand it. If you're not funny, that's okay. What, if you came in here for, 1 cup of coffee on open mic night and you expect to see Woody Allen or Richard Pryor? What, are you kidding? So they just sit silently and wait for the next act.
Yeah.
That's all. You're only on there for 3 to 5 minutes. Sometimes if there's a headliner funny guy, gets 10 minutes, maybe, late at night. But no, 3 to 5. So they just wait, they'll just sit there like this. And then but that's okay. Yeah. As long as they're not coming at you, it's fine. And then if you do say something, they'll laugh. So I would here's one of my talents was weird. I have a photographic memory for not only laughter, but the line that got it. It's a photo. It just goes in and it's there. And so if I talk to you for an hour this is on stage.
Yeah.
Stage.
Yeah.
If I talk to you for an hour and I get 5 laughs, the next night I forget the 60 to 57 minutes, whatever. Yeah. And I remember the 3 jokes, the 3 lines. They weren't jokes because I was just talking.
Yeah.
But I remember what got me to the laugh. So I would just get up there and talk. The next night, I'd say the jokes that I remember from last night and continue on from there talking. Third night, remember the first night and the second night laughs, continue on there for talking. And by a week and a half, I'd have a 10-minute hunk, of just all the laughs. Photographic memory had nothing to do with me or trying. And so I just rode that.
It's one of those weird quirks like you were talking about. Like you have a photographic memory. The guy in your story had that was the greatest pickpocket ever.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I by the time I got my manager, I had like about a 5 or 10 minute hunk, and he started booking me around places, clubs in Greenwich Village. It's still the same kind of people,
Yeah.
And then when I had about 20 minutes, he goes, okay, because this was my manager who just said, hey, you want a manager? Yeah. How about me? Yeah. I mean, that was the entire conversation. After I came off the stage one night at open mic night, he says, hey, you're pretty funny. Thank you very much. You got a manager? No. You want one? Yeah. How about me? Yeah. Great. Okay. Here's my card. Here's my name. So, okay, I'll come back to you in a while and check. And when we'll go. Okay, great. Goodbye. His card, put it in my pocket. Didn't mention. Then he calls me, says, I dig for you. Okay, boom. Around the corner, it's a tuxedo. I don't have a tuxedo, man. I'm a hippie. So he says, oh, okay, I'll get you one. Don't worry about it. It's a nightclub in a hotel. It's an upscale block. So you're opening for a nightclub singer. Okay, fine. So I do that. The guy buys me a tuxedo.
Ooh.
Not rents me one. He bought me a tuxedo. It blew my fucking mind. So who is this guy? And then I found out it's Woody Allen's manager, because he said, hey, your next gig is with Woody. I go, how'd you do that? He says, well, I manage him too. You do? Wow. Wow. So I was opening for Woody, and that's what got me on then Miles Davis, then Kingston Trio. Boom, 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 boom. But then I started to get into Richie Pryor, George Carlin, Lenny Bruce territory, because I'm just a learner. I don't just like level off. I just keep going. I mean, it's curiosity, man.
How long did you stay in Greenwich Village? How long were you there?
I was there for a year. In other words, I graduated in 60. So I was there from 60 to 61, the 6 months curve open, and then 6 months with Jack Rollins, and opening for Woody in and around New York. And then I started to, go Chicago, and then touring, and I was touring with the Love and Spoonful. We did a whole concert around the country, all the universities, pulled off the stage by police. I got off the stage when a guy in a nightclub came at me with a bottle. We don't want to hear that shit. It was, Lenny Bruce, Richie Pryor, George Carlin. Before George Carlin came out with the album, the 7 words you can't say.
Yeah, this is back when he was really clean cut.
Yeah, he was still working in a suit. I was still working in a suit.
A lot of people were back
then. After the tuxedo, I had to wear a suit. So and then it started getting hairy, because I started hanging around with some people who didn't give a rat's ass about what they were saying. I mean, they did, because they were doing it for a purpose. Lenny knew exactly what he was doing.
Yes.
He knew exactly what he was in for. They were just cruel, man. I mean, I talked to him. I mean, I knew him. So I called Jack finally from the road after the guy with the beer bottle came at me. He said, get the fuck off the stage. I said, okay, fine. I just walked off, man.
Yeah.
Hey, no problem.
Yeah.
No problem. I was waiting for the bouncer or somebody. It's a nightclub, man. The guy's walking across a an empty dance floor at me with an upside down beer bottle in his hand and cursing at me, saying, "Get the fuck off the stage." What? Hey, how dare you curse at me? Only I can curse. I'm just, this is, I'm a comedian. You're angry. So I told you, I sat at the bar. I said, "What are you doing here? Kingston Trio isn't coming on for 10 minutes. I go, "Did you see that guy with the beer bottle, man? He nearly cracked me open, my head open." He said, yeah. Well, he sat down. Go get back out there. I said, "No, he's going to do it again, man. I don't have another act. This is what I do, man." So he said, "Well, you're not going to get paid. You're going to be fired." I said, "Okay." He says, "Goodbye." I said, "Goodbye," and I walked out. That's it. But I had to come back. It was snowing outside. It was this blizzard, and I had to come back in. Fuck you. Boom, 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 boom. Use your phone. I had to call a cab to get to the airport. But I called my manager, Jack. I said, "I can't do this anymore." He goes, "Why?" I said, "I'm a middle-class kid, I'm doing, Lenny and Richie and George, but, I'm not doing drugs yet. They're pulling me off the stage for just cursing. I'm not doing drugs yet." This is like next year. But so I really took umbrage because the cops, I swear to God, because I wasn't on drugs. I didn't understand that you couldn't say penis or fuck on stage. It was verboten.
I don't even understand like that concept anymore. Where we're at nowadays, it's so amazing how fast we switched from a society where that was, like, as you say, not allowed, to a society where you could every 2 seconds on the internet somebody's saying it, or
from a dead Lenny Bruce to frontal nudity on HBO.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where we've come from.
Yeah.
And so anyway, yeah. So when he said, I said, "I can't do this anymore, man. I was doing it for fun. I wasn't writing. I was still, because here's the thing I discovered. The audience, and now I'm opening for like Miles Davis, but I'm still doing the same thing. The first 2 minutes I talk about my day. Doesn't matter. Oh, and here's the other thing. And the Cellar Door, which was the very hip boitier in Washington, D.C., where all the politicians and even some presidents go to that nightclub. And Miles Davis was playing D.C., the Cellar Door, and they called me and they said, "Hey, Miles Davis has been booked in. We don't have an opening act, but President Kennedy has bought a ticket, or he wants to come. So how would you like to open for Miles?" I go, "Great, that's really great." So I'm opening for Miles. It was a 2-week show. I didn't know when anybody was coming. 2 weeks with Miles was enough for me. So I'm opening for Miles, and I did this one thing where I do in the act. I mean, it's not funny now. I'm not going to do it, but one of the sound effects was I was talking about motorcycle cops and parking enforcement cops in New York City. They were riding Lambretta motor scooters, the parking enforcement cops in New York. So they would stop their Lambrettas, get off, write a ticket. So that was the sound effects. So I said, that motorcycle, that Hell's Angels were New York City parking enforcement officers that made it. They went from to bam, bam. So one night after the show, I see a group of people. Everybody clears out of the nightclub, and there was a tier. So like 5 steps up, and you can sit and you can have dinner up there, and you look down, and everybody else was the nightclub. So a little 5-step tier thing. So everybody leaves the nightclub. The show is over. I open, Miles Davis plays, everybody clears, except there's a little confab of about 10 to 15 people in the middle of the nightclub. They're all hanging together. And then Miles comes out. I sat on the steps, kind of in the shadow, wondering what's going on. There's something going on. Maybe that's the president. I don't know. But I want to see. And then Miles comes out, and sure enough, it's the president. It's President Kennedy, his brother, his wife, and all the the guards, the 3 people around him. And Yeah, Secret Service, and one or two senators. I remember their names, but not now anyway. And they're talking. So he goes into the center, talking around him. So he's in the center, and I'm just sitting there on the stage in the shadow. Yeah, it's kind of lit, but in the shadow, and I'm just going, "Wow, that is so cool." That's what I was thinking. How cool that is. How cool Miles Davis is. The president of the United States, man, hangs around to talk to Miles Davis. Wow. And I'm good. And at one point, I see Miles, go up like this. And he sees me, goes back down, he's talking for a little while, and then he comes back up again. He goes,
That's pretty cool.
You can't get hipper than that. While you're talking to President Kennedy, just a second, Prez. I got a buddy over here.
I gotta razz him. Yeah.
Okay, now what were you saying?
Doesn't get much cooler than Miles Davis. And then when Miles Davis does something like that,
he wanted me to tour with him, but I said no because I was afraid to go to Europe. I thought I'd die there. Yeah, I was very naive. Still, I thought, no, stick in America. Stick to America.
So then, let me ask you: how did the transition happen to acting? When did that start? I mean,
well, we went to, let me see. When he told me, when Jack Rollins, when I called him and I said, no, I can't do this. I'm a middle-class Jewish kid, and cops are pulling me off the stage. What do my parents think?
Yeah.
So he said, well, why don't you join Second City? They're doing the same thing as Lenny and Richie and Carl, George Carlin. Why don't you join Second City? They're doing the same material, except they own the theater. So if anybody comes at you with a beer bottle, the stage is way up high, and you got 5 other people on the stage, and they'll throw him out because they own the theater. So that's what I did. And I like being on a stage and talking to people. Stand up, improv. You're still making up your own material. You're not reading somebody else's words. So I loved it. I got on with Robin Williams.
Oh yeah,
I went with Robin. We got to know each other later, years and years later. But then we were just 2 people online. Except I knew that was Robin Williams because years later he was wearing the white suspenders with the rainbows, and that's what he was wearing the night he auditioned. The white bib overalls and the rainbow suspenders.
Yep.
So years later, that was Robin. Yeah. So I was standing right behind him, and I remember. I hope this is why I got the audition. I don't know. So here's another little talent that I fostered and practiced. You take a cigarette, like a cigarette. Now, this is a cigarette, okay? And you put it like this in your hand, like that, and you flip it, right? Okay. So we're standing on line, a long line audition for a Second City, and somebody says, "Hey, Paul Sills is coming out. He's the director of Second City. He's in the audition room there." And somebody says, Paul Sills is gonna come out. Okay, Paul Sills is gonna come. So the door opens, and he says, "That's Paul Sills." So here comes Paul Sills, and he's walking. And I said, "Really?" And there's a long line. I had enough time to ask somebody for a cigarette. I said, "Anybody got a cigarette? Anybody got a cigarette?" He goes, yeah. So I take the thing, put the cigarette in my hand like this, and I'm thinking, I'm going to flip the cigarette up and catch it in my mouth as he's walking by to impress him, So here he comes. Got it. And he looks at me and he goes, "Okay, cool." I go in, I audition. He's not in the audition. He went that way. He never came back. I go in. I auditioned for a guy named Alan Meyerson. Okay. 2 days later, I get a call. You got a call back from Second City. You got to go to this address. I go to this address, It's a business. It's an office building. It's an office building. Nothing to do with the theater. And one of the offices, and it's on Saturday, the building is closed, except I'm allowed in. They got my name downstairs. Go up the sixth floor. I go, there's an office, empty. Nobody's there. It's Saturday. And go to this one particular office. It's an office, an executive's office. And there's Paul Sills sitting behind the desk. And he says, hi, Larry. Welcome to the audition. And I go, oh, okay. So now I'm totally thrown off. I'm in a building. I'm in an office. There's not other auditioning people. There's nobody waiting. It's just me and him. I don't know what's going on. It's different than any audition I've ever done. So he goes, okay, so listen, the first thing, and this is great directors have said the greatest things to me. Not one has ever missed. Maybe they'll only say one thing in the entire time I know them. And this is the great thing he says to me. So I said, oh, hi. He says, Lary Hankin, right? Yeah. Okay. So look, Larry, the first thing is, don't try to make me laugh, please. Everybody comes in here, tries to make me laugh. I'm sick of laughing, I run a comedy show. I don't need a laugh anymore. No more laughter. So just do what I say, okay? And he's got that attitude. I go, wow, I'm thrown. I'm here to make you laugh. This is Second City. I'm a comedian. So the first thing he does is no laughing. So I'm standing there naked now. He says, all right, so there's a key in this room. Find it. That's it? Yeah. Okay. And don't make me laugh, please. And so I start looking for a key, looking for the key. At some point, he goes, okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, yeah, so, no, that's it. Thank you. Okay, bye. And that was it. 3 days later, I get a call. Okay, you got it. You're going, you're in. You're going, you're shipping out to St. Louis, Tuesday. So pack your bags and get ready.
What was the point of that having you look for a key? Did you ever figure that out? Like, what was the point of that?
Well, no, but I kind of sussed it out after I learned how to improvise. I mean, they say send you to school. Before I went to St. Louis, I had to go to classes for about a month, I think. And there were some heavy-duty people there, But what that was, he wanted to see how honest and how there's a lot of things was going on. He wanted to see how honest I could be. He wanted to see how real I could be. He wanted to see if I could follow directions. He wanted to see if I could focus on a simple task. He wanted to see my body language.
That's wow. That's a great. I've never heard anything like that. That makes a lot of sense.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
and I was great at it, at improvising.
Yeah,
that's my talent. That's what a
lot of actors do is they improvise. I mean, that's
yeah, but I can't improvise acting.
Oh, really?
Improvise, yeah.
Well, okay, then let me ask you this. As an actor, would you rather have a director come and tell you just do it like the lines say, or would you rather have an actor or a director say, you can throw a little bit of your pizzazz in there? What as an actor for you, what is the important or the takeaway?
Okay. Here's the takeaway, and this is what I mean about directors saying just such incredibly great things to me, even if it's only like, one word. At the right time, for the right reason, could be an amazing epiphany, an actor's epiphany. I'll give you an example. Larry David. Now, I've worked with, the great actors I worked with off the top of my head are John Huston, Larry David, Don Siegel are the three big ones. The Escape from Alcatraz.
Yeah.
Don Siegel is he's passed on.
Yeah.
An amazing director.
And I'm a big fan of John Huston too. So
yeah. Okay. Larry David. I did Tom Pepper in Seinfeld. The guy who stole the raisins.
I love that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was in my mind from the second I got the sides, the script, was, okay, just from reading it, I came to the conclusion Tom Pepper was passive aggressive, that he was so angry that he either kept it in and was, or he just, or any other dried fruit, or any other dried fruit. So I thought Buster Keaton would be great as a passive aggressive, totally blank,
Great stone face. Yeah.
Great stone face. So that's what I was going for. Great stone face would make what Tom Pepper was saying that Larry David had written very funnier. That was my decision. So I'm doing that. Larry David doesn't direct. He just stands and watches. And every once in a while, he'll give a direction, say something. I don't know what he does. He says something to one of his stars. Seinfeld or Costanza or Kramer or the girl, I forgot
Julia Louis
her name, Elaine.
Yeah,
so
Elaine.
He would go over to them and he'd go, and then they would say, and for some reason they'd be funnier. I mean, Larry David knows what's funny. So he would just, and I would think, hey man, I'm a funny guy. I mean, you hired me for this part. I mean, why aren't you giving me all of this, Vigish, this good stuff, So one afternoon, he comes over to me. He says to Tom, the director, he says, just hold it for a second. I want to talk to Larry. He's gonna give me some good stuff. So he said, come here, Larry. So he pulls me, he does that. He pulls you aside. I love directors who pull you aside, doesn't do it in front of everybody. Pulls me aside, he said, and he gets this attitude, and he comes right up in my face and he goes, I know what you're trying to do. And the key word there was trying. And that really stuck in my craw. And I'm thinking, what the fuck you mean I'm trying? I'm a professional. I'm either doing it or I'm not, and I'm doing it. So, that's what I gave him back. I said, oh, really? And what am I trying to do? Mr. Know-It-All.
Yeah.
Well, what am I trying to do? And he just, without thinking, he just goes, you're trying to do nothing. And he walks away. And I thought, fuck, man, that's the best piece of direction I've ever got. He pinned me. See, I was ready to argue with him. I want to do it this way. But that's exactly what I was trying to do. And he said, you're doing something. And he walked away. So he knew and I go, wow, man. Okay. Buster Keaton, a little more, stone face, right on. Thank you, Larry. So he goes, okay. So we do it again. He starts walking towards me. And I go, oh man, come on. I was stone face. But I see he's walking too fast. He's not going to talk to me. He's going to talk to somebody behind me. But he walks right by me. He brushes by me. And as he brushes by me, he says in a whisper, you're still doing something. That's a great director. That's a great director. He pins you and he doesn't give you direction. He helps you get to where you want to go. And here's what John Huston told me, which dovetails beautifully. John Huston told me this first. John Huston said, we were just talking about stuff. I think I broached the conversation because I wanted to say something. I wanted to talk to John Huston. So I thought I'd broach the conversation by saying, hey, have you ever heard of a movie called The Maltese Falcon? So he smiled and he goes, I've heard of it, yeah. I said, you directed it. Yeah. I say, if you wanted to do that movie today, you couldn't get that made. Really? I go, yeah, because I was just, pushing him. I wanted to say if he has a sense of humor in it.
Yeah.
So I go, yeah, because he says, why is that? I said, because all it is speeches about this long in room after room after room. And he goes, probably wouldn't get it made today. He walked away. But here's the thing. And that's another. I mean, just that's all he said. He doesn't have. He said a lot of things to me in the audition. I think here's the greatest. The great directors are really great for a reason, and it's nothing that you've ever seen. It's their presence and what they're doing in person. That's what makes them great. When I audition, here's my habit. My habit is, after I got to be an actor for a while, you get to know certain things, the stations of the cross you got to do before you do your job. And that is, first thing I do is I don't go to my dressing room, I go to the costume department. And I say, I'm Lary Hankin, I'm doing the role of, so I'm the old Joe, I'm doing the role of, what was it, the dog catcher.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing Annie, John Huston. Where's the costume? The costume department is right over there. So I go in and I ask. I said, I'm Lary Hankins. I'm doing old Joe. Can I see my costume? Yeah, sure. It's over there. They're all in hangers, whatever your changes are. So you go in and I'm going through it. There's one or two things. Oh, so then some guy comes up to me. I can't find it. I don't know where the dog catcher's stuff is. A man comes up to me. He goes, what are you doing here? I said, oh, I'm Lary Hankin. I'm the dog catcher. I asked, and they said I could look at my costume. I'm looking for my costume. He says, you're not supposed to be here. I said, yeah, but, I just want to check my costume. He goes, okay. I got it. So he turns around, looks at me, and he comes, and he gives me, at first it looked like, those folded boxes, where you can open them up and fold them, and you make a box, and then you put your clothes in, the moving thing. Okay, it was a little box about 15 square inches. Looked like a cardboard box. Okay, that color and about that thickness.
Yeah.
But it's a costume. It's a folded up, washed and starched and folded into a 15 square form of a what car mechanics wear? The coveralls.
Yeah.
The coveralls. The blue things that the guys with garage come back at. Okay, well, it's tan because it's a dog catcher, but it's coveralls. You just put it over it. Okay. So I said, what is this? He says, that's your coveralls for the dog catcher. So it looks like a flat box, man, and I pull up one edge. It's a sleeve, and it's totally starched, man.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's been used.
No, it's just stiff. But I peeled it up, and I remember my father, when I was a little kid, he used to let me peel his white starched shirts open because I love to go, I love that thing. And then you stick your hand in the sleeve, and it squeaks. I love that feeling. So it's that hard. So I said, I can't wear this. He goes, why not? I said, it's starched. It's clean. I'm a dog catcher. It's 1930. I'm in, South New York. I'm in Lower Manhattan. I mean, I'm carrying dog. It's filthy. I'm not wearing this. Number one thing of actors, protect your character.
Ooh, great point.
Protect your character. To you, your character is right to your character.
Yeah.
He's doing the right thing. Even if you're a murderer, he thinks he's got to do this. It's the right thing. Not wearing this. You have to wear this. I'm not. It's not clean. It's not dirty. It's not a dog catcher's outfit. I'm not wearing this. He says, you better wear that. I go, no, I'm not. Look, I'm sorry. You don't understand. He says, if you don't wear this, I'm going to have to go to Mr. Houston. Sure, let's go. And I have nothing to do with John Huston being famous or anything.
Yeah.
I was angriest guy, and I'm protecting my character. This is a no-go. All right, let's go. Let's go, man. He says, let's go, He flatter. He takes it, and he's carrying it like it was a tiara or something. And we're going out. But it rained the night before. It's a sunny day. Street's starting to dry out, but there's various puddles around, and he's shooting Annie Mr. Director, Mr. Houston is shooting it outdoors, right outside of where we are. We go out there, and there he is, and he's watching the day's rushes. John Huston, the great John Huston. And he goes, and he hears people coming. He turns slowly, and he goes, "Oh, hi, Carl," or whatever his name is. "Hi, Carl. Hi, Larry. What's going on?" He's, "Oh, he remembers my name. I only met him during the audition." "Hi, Larry. Yeah, what's going on?" "Mr. Houston," we called him Mr. Houston. "Mr. Houston, this actor will not put on this costume." And he looks at me, he goes, "Why is that, Larry? Why don't you wear the costume?" I go, "Well, because look at it, it starts, it's clean. I'm a dog catcher, I wouldn't be wearing that. I'm not wearing it, No, I'm complaining to him, but I'm not in his face. It's John Huston,
Yeah.
So he goes to Carl. "Carl, would you give me that, please?" Carl hands him a thing. John Huston gets up and he walks over to the nearest, biggest puddle he can find, walks into the middle of it with his shoes on, walks into the middle of the puddle, and he opens the thing. Boom! Drops it in a puddle and walks on it, walks all over it. Then he picks it up, dripping wet, holds it out like this. And he goes over to Carl and he says, "Carl, dry this off and put it on this actor." "Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Carl." And he goes back to his TV set. Now that's cool, man.
Yeah, he fixed the problem.
Cool director. No fuss, no bother, solve the problem. Next problem. Great directors are great. That's one of my high points of my fucking life.
Amen. I that's when you talking about John Huston like instantly takes me back. I grew up watching old movies. One of my all-time favorite movies is The Treasure of Sierra Madre.
Yeah.
I think The Treasure of Sierra Madre is one of the greatest acted movies.
Oh yeah, man.
and I couldn't imagine, being on set with guys like John Huston, Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
That dance, man.
Yeah.
You can't write that shit.
No. And I love the story of that movie, how it was a love letter to his father, and he wanted to give his father one last acting thing and all that type of stuff.
And he got the Academy Award, man, for his dad as a gift. Yeah, well, let's just do it, man. Yeah. Boom. Great. And he got his daughter an Academy Award too.
Well, let's talk
by the way, I wore the costume John Huston stepped in a puddle on.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's pretty amazing, man.
Yeah.
I want to talk about one of your latest things, and that was the Breaking Bad stuff and El Camino and all the cool stuff that has gone with that series. That series has kind of, in my opinion, changed TV when that series came out. I don't think a lot of people were ready for that show, obviously, and how well it did. But then to go and do the movie afterwards was genius, in my opinion. What was it like working on that film and everything to do with that whole not genre, but the whole Breaking Bad? Everything.
I was a fan of Breaking Bad. I was also I'm not a fan. I mean, I look up to certain people, as a model or as maybe a mentor. But I shy away from being a fan because I have fans, and a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them express an over-the-top emotion that is just not real. And so I don't want to get caught up in that. So I see it in front of me and I go, okay, that's one of the dangers of being a fan. I don't think it's a good thing. So I try not to do that. So I've only been a fan of two things, two television things, not even a fan of movies. Well, yes, I'm a fan of one movie and two television things. Breaking Bad, I'm a fan of. I was a fan of. And I don't know if you ever heard of a series called Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman.
No.
Okay. I was a fan of that. I would leave parties to go see Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman. This one is in the 70s, in the 60s, maybe. That. Okay. And then Breaking Bad. And the only movie is Man Bites Dog. Is, do you know that movie?
I've heard of that movie.
It's a German student film. It's in German, and there's a translation at the bottom. It's a film about three guys, serial murderer, and two documentary filmmakers who want to follow us around. And that is an amazing piece of cinema, period.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about Lawrence of Arabia all the way on down.
I love French. I love that time period.
Planet Nine from space or whatever. Say that again. I'm sorry.
I love that time period of French film too.
The new wave. The new wave.
Yes. Oh man.
I that's all I watch. I didn't watch American movies. That's all I watch is new wave. French. Great. Yeah. Okay, so what was going
Breaking Bad.
So Breaking Bad. So that's how much I loved it. So when I was on the set, how was it like? I was not on any drugs or anything. I don't even think I ate food for the entire time I worked on all of those things. I was high the entire time. It was such a great feeling. It was like a graduation. This is what I was in show business to be part of. All the learning I did. It was such a pleasure to be around, Vince Gilligan. Vince Gilligan is up there with some of the greats, man. Because he's so contemporary. You know, John Huston made his bones way before I ever was on this planet. But Vince Gilligan is part of my life. You know, I mean, he wrote, I watched all the stuff that he wrote before he was Vince Gilligan. I was just a fan of, I was watching those things. And then when he started Breaking Bad, I caught up on the second year. I didn't watch the first year at all. But once I watched the second year, I went all the way back and I watched everything. I would leave parties to go watch Breaking Bad, So it was just wonderful. And he was a great director. I have dyslexia. So he would write long speeches for me, which I couldn't remember. I mean, I just can't.
Yeah.
It's really hard. So what he would do, instead of hollering at me or making me, or making me feel like, hey man, come on, remember those lines. He would just take a break. He would just say, take a break. Hey, work on it, Larry. And I would work on it, and then he'd come back and he'd say 10 minutes. He'd say, I work on it, Larry. Let's take 10 minutes, and I want to talk to the cinematographers. And he'd use the time. I mean, he wouldn't just sit around. I mean, he had things to do. So he would go, take it. And he would give me, he would even give me his shot book, and because I was really I don't hang around other actors. I hang around the directors.
Yeah.
They just know so much.
Yeah.
I have the good ones.
My best friend is an actor, and one of his lines that he always tells to me is that he likes saying to me is, "There's nothing better than being on a set and watching the crew and everybody interact, and how a movie is made, and
exactly.
to be able, to talk to everybody on the set is just amazing. And when you're there, you just soak it all up." And I think that's a perfect example of what you're talking about, like not being on a drug, but just being high because you're there and you're working.
He notices that. See, and that's the other thing. I do that always. I'm always near the camera or near a TV village. Like I want to watch the shot. I want to see how what lens are they using.
Yeah.
I never right. But he noticed that because he came over to me one day, Vince did, and he said, hey, how would you like to see my shot book? And I go, yeah, I'd love to see these shots. So he calls his assistant. He has to say, give Larry the shot book. So it's about that thick. It's a, you know, a loose leaf notebook. But it has drawings of every shot, the picture, where the cameras are, the angles, you know, where the movements go, and then notations as to what he wants the scene to be and where the actor should be, what the point of the scene is. Just so much information, just like Encyclopedia Britannica.
And there's some shots and ways that show did things that I still watch today, and I go, I can't believe I'm watching this. Some of the camera shots that they have in that show.
Yeah.
I mean, they're known for some of those crazy camera shots, you know, like, you know, the camera is in the back of a washer and dryer, or, you know, the fridge is
in the trunk of a car.
They're in the trunk of a car. Yeah.
The machine gun is going. Yeah. That's really interesting you bring that up, because that's one of the things that I kept talking to people about where he puts the camera. And then I started to, you know, when I was going through the book, I was starting to see he's got that in his mind I think he has that in his mind when he's writing it, where the camera, I think he writes from where the camera is.
I love that.
Watching. Because when I was looking through the book, all the camera shots that I was seeing when I was watching the TV, he had it already written down in the book way before they started filming. So I'm sure when he was writing half of these shots, I know that I do that sometimes. Maybe it's because of what I picked up from him, but it's much better when you write from a camera angle or from a character's angle, but not just from a writer's angle.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing what a good director can do. It's amazing what a good writer can do. I always say that if it's written well, that's key number one, right? If it's written well.
But he's a great writer.
Yeah, the director can tell his story in a certain way that just makes it so much better, and it's amazing what they can do nowadays, especially with some of the technology and stuff, which blows me away. How guys like, you know, Houston and some of those old school guys, you know, Hitchcock and those guys would make films, and it would take years. When these guys are putting out films now that take, you know, a month or something like that. But another crazy thing that I love is, you know, you were on episodes of Malcolm in the Middle, and you worked with Bryan Cranston on that, on Malcolm in the Middle. Did you ever think that Bryan Cranston would become the actor that he's become? I mean, I never thought of him as being a serious actor, because he was always doing the comedic type stuff.
I don't think he knew he was going to become Bryan Cranston either at that time. I mean, when I was acting with him, he was a sitcom dad, and I was a young actor.
Yeah.
That's all we were.
Yep.
I think he, you know, maybe he had eyes to be something bigger than what he was, but he was a sitcom dad. I mean, that's what happened. That's what happens to all actors. All male actors and female actors become sitcom moms. Once you pass a certain age, your go-to job is sitcom dad, sitcom mom.
That's a great point.
The reason that I was doing, I played a homeless guy in that, and I played many homeless guys after that, because right around that time I discovered what I just told you, that when I become 35 or 40 as a male actor, I'm going to become Bryan Cranston in, what's the name of that show?
Malcolm in the Middle.
Malcolm in the Middle. And I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And so I started to think when I was around 30 or 28, I started to think about forming a character. And that's why I started doing homeless guys with long hair, and my hair is starting to turn gray. I thought, at least I could do a homeless guy. I just don't want to do a sitcom dad, homeless guy you can play. I mean, Charlie Chaplin was the most famous homeless man ever to live.
Yep, and the most famous actor
on the planet.
Yep.
So, you know, people put that, my friends would say, why are you doing homeless guy, man? I say, well, you know, Charlie Chaplin, what are you talking about, man?
Yeah.
One of the most famous actors in history was a fucking homeless character. I just get so PO'd. Some people that, anybody who tells you what you should do. I think
Yes.
should and can't are not words that should be in anybody's lexicon. I don't care. Just no should, no can't.
Well, you as your profession and being an actor, now that I think about it, asking that question about Bryan Cranston, it's kind of stupid because as your profession as an actor, you guys are proving that every day that you can be whatever you want and still be
whatever you want. I mean, it's all in your own head.
Yep.
90% of it is in your, 10% is chance and other people. Other people are hell, but it's only 10%. So yeah, it's mainly on your own shoulders. It's on my shoulders. It's on Bryan Cranston's shoulders,
You talked about earlier about Escape from Alcatraz.
Great movie.
Yeah, and you played Charlie Butts in that, and you worked with Clint Eastwood. What was it like working on that film?
It was great for other reasons, for different reasons. It was great working with Clint Eastwood because Clint Eastwood is a really a fine actor. If you'll notice, in any of the films that he later directed, that he was in, it's very hard to direct yourself. But he was learning on Escape from Alcatraz from Don Siegel, the director of Escape from Alcatraz. He was learning how to direct while he was acting in that movie. There's one scene where because after each shot, before the shot, they would talk about what the scene was about. They were always talking before a scene. And then generally they were talking about what the scene was going to be about, and that was all. Afterwards, they would talk about directing the scene. Like, where did you put the camera? Why did you put it there? And blah, blah, blah. And what do you do? So it would book it. But they were always talking about either the scene or directing. And then one scene, there's a scene where there's a doctor. There's a scene in a doctor's office where there's a doctor discussing or examining another patient while I don't remember exactly, Clint Eastwood is not in the scene. There's a doctor examining a patient. And maybe that's all. Maybe they're just talking. Clint Eastwood directed that scene, and Don Siegel, the director, is the doctor in that scene. And the reason is Clint wanted to direct one scene in the movie just to get his chops about acting, because he was learning from Don Siegel. And Don Siegel says, okay, here's a small scene, I'll let you direct that, because this was a big movie for Don Siegel. So he didn't want to let anybody, fuck it up. So he said, there's a small scene, I'll let you direct that one, but I'm going to be in it so I can watch what you're doing. I'm not going to not be there.
Yeah. And
he always wanted to be in a scene anyway. So instead of standing off to the side, he demanded to be in the scene so he could be an actor. So that scene is Clint Eastwood directing Don Siegel.
Wow.
And then afterwards because I was there, I wanted to watch that, see what happened. And afterwards they talked about it, they said, well, it's pretty good. Yeah. I mean, I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
But hanging around, I didn't hang around much with Clint, although I saw that he never, it was him and me never went into our dressing rooms. I always wanted to be on the set. I was always hanging around Don Siegel, and he was always doing weights. He brought weights. These pumping iron, dumbbells. Isn't that what they call them? Dumbbells.
Yeah.
He brought these really heavy ones. I think about 50 pounds each, 45 or 50 pounds each. And he would just leave them next to the camera. And he would pump himself up, a little before the scene. He'd put it down, walk around, shake out. And he'd do the scene. And then he'd come back and pick up the things and kind of, I don't know, bring himself down or keep his blood up, whatever. And then during lunch, he'd eat with the cast and crew, mainly with the cast. The 200 extras that were the convicts. He would eat with them. The warden, the guy, that was the other star, the warden. He was drunk all the time. He was drunk the entire movie. He never came out of his dressing room except to do his part. He smelled the liquor. He was a little woozy. He never answered, but yeah. You ready to go? Yep. Ready to go.
Just snap. Turn it on.
And then, but he would never miss the line. He never,
professional.
Totally professional. And I asked Clint Eastwood, I said, what does he do? Because he never comes out. He said, yeah, do you ever speak to him? I asked Clint. I said, do you ever speak to him? Because no, he just stays in his dressing room until it's time to come out. I think one time he came out a little too soon. So he had to wait maybe, 3 or 4 minutes while they still set it up. And that was the longest I've ever seen him out, But his eyes were red and, and his nose is red. But here's the thing. I thought, how can a fucking guy act like that? I mean, I can't act high. I can't do anything with anything. I mean,
yeah,
no, it just doesn't work. So it blew my mind, but right the fuck on. But when I saw the movie, I think he really knew what he was doing. The warden, the actor knew what he was doing, because that pasty face of a drunk, but he didn't show it. He didn't look drunk in the movie. Doesn't look drunk, but he looks distant. There's that the dead eyes of somebody who's going to kill you, but you don't care.
Yeah,
no empathy. And I think it worked for him, and I think that's why nobody. I mean, Don. It was obvious. Everybody knew he was fucking drinking and he was drunk. But that's why I think Clint never spoke to him, or the director never said anything. Nobody ever said anything about it. Not me. Yeah. But I was very aware of it. I was there 3 months, man. So I watched him every day, and so
I know
you can't complain about anything.
There's a ton of other things that I can get into with you, and you've talked a lot about Friends in the past, and I don't want to get into the Friends stuff because you've talked a lot about that, but there's been some other things beyond the world of TV and movies that you've also written and directed several projects, even receiving an Oscar nod for one of your short films. It's pretty awesome, man. That's pretty damn cool. Yeah, I see it in the background there.
So, by the way, right, just for now I'm pointing.
Yeah, there it is.
That's my painting, and that's my painting, and you can go see them all, 44 of them, on therealLaryHankin.com, and they're going to be T-shirts pretty soon.
I was just at your site the other day looking at those, and you're like a Renaissance man. You do the acting, you do the art, you do the stage work. I mean, you're doing it all out there. Like,
as my mom would say, "You're so talented, Larry."
What does the future have for you?
Well, I just finished a screenplay for myself. It's just pretty cool. I like it. I just finished it like 3 days. Actually, I finished it last night.
Wow!
Finally, I mean, the first, the first
draft
ended out, but the first draft. It's called Darcy and the Vampire, and it's really cool. It's kind of a date night, funny vampire movie. but the thing about it is, I mean, there's a lot of funny vampire movies. There's been a lot of funny vampire movies, but I'm trying to get in the center of this, and I can't. I don't know. Okay, but there's a lot of vampire. But this, I guarantee you, there's no vampire like this one. I want to play the vampire. I wrote it for me. It's pretty cool. But there's no vampire like this vampire. I mean, he's a vampire.
Yeah. But I'm loving to hear it. I love to hear when people create and they're excited about what they create.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing is to
and then I'm going to do a one-man show after that. I'm going to talk about what we talked about in the beginning about my life in show business. My life and in show business.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's what I was going to say. I was going to say, man, you have more books in you. You have more screenplays in you. I mean, this is stuff that we got to hear because, like I said, you're living the life of a Renaissance man, my friend. And
well, hopefully, I mean, you know, whose point again. I mean, you can't. Now that you brought it up, I didn't. But have you heard Dylan's new album?
No, not yet.
Okay. Well, I've heard one song, and I've seen the list of songs. I'm about to get it after today. I'm going to get it. But Bob Dylan was one of the precursors of my education, from naivete and reactionary to when I started to listen to his words. I said, well, you know, this guy has a bigger, wider point of view than I'll ever have, but I got to widen my lens, my scope. That's what I learned from Bob, is not that his songs are great, they are, and not that he's a genius, he is, but no, what he was telling me I got to do to catch up, man. You know, are you aware of all this? No, I'm not. Well, you better get on it because I'm way ahead of you. And the reason I pick up on that is because his latest album, he is a Renaissance man. I know where he's going. You can tell. He is back into the great poet writers, not the writer, not on the road and Ginsberg. He's into Aeschylus. He's into El Cid. He's into Plato. He's into Homer. Yep. I mean, he's writing poetry that those guys wrote, which are histories. In the old days, poets weren't poets. They were the newspaper of the day.
Yeah.
They were minstrels. They went around and reported what the hell's going on. Only they made it all rhyme. And they had some important people stuff in there too. El Cid is the most amazing poem I've ever read. Dante. He was, Dante. Dylan is a big fan of Dante. You can tell by the way he writes, by the word relationships. You know.
Yep.
Okay, so I was just looking at his album and I heard one song and I go, oh, he's back that far now. He's and he gave us on this latest album. He gave us as a gift. Here, you want the '60s? Here, it's called "Murder Most Foul." It's a song 19 minutes long. It's like El Cid. It's like a history. El Cid is the history of early Spain.
Yeah, early Spain and the night, and I know all about El Cid. Yeah,
but the poem is so visceral. You can see the horses and the blood. It's an amazing piece of writing, and he did that with the '60s. Here's the '60s in 90 minutes, kids. Boom. I love it. Wow, man. So yeah, I mean it's a great compliment, and I really appreciate it. But really, all it boils down to is my mom saying, "Oh, you're so talented." No, he's serious though. He's not. No, but at least he's a marker. He's a marker, man. Yeah. That's what he is. Hey, you want to do something good? Well, this is that's where you got to go.
Yeah, this is it. Way up here.
See, that's the thing about certain people. They're real.
Yes.
Thomas Jefferson is real.
Yeah.
Yep. That's all I can ask.
Well, I appreciate you, Larry, because you're real, very real, and we appreciate the interview. We'd love to have you on again. Maybe when the future gets some stones rolling here. Once you get that screenplay going, you let us know.
All right, anytime you got a spot, man.
Thanks, Larry. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch.
Okay, now wait a minute. Before you go, can you just thereallarryhankin.com? I just got to mention that. And is this going to be on? Can you send me a link?
We will send you a link and everything. We'll put little links to your website and everything. We just do a quick edit, and then it'll be up, and it should be up in the next couple days.
Okay. Good night.
Good night.